Hi guys, Aaron Dade here with Kingdom Blueprint, and this video is revelation knowledge that was revealed to me a while ago about humility versus accountability. So the major question that we frequently ask ourselves is, when is it okay to hold somebody accountable? When do we get the opportunity to hold somebody accountable without judging them? Because a lot of times, as standards, or, when you're dealing with a prodigal or you're the prodigal yourself, when do I hold somebody accountable? When do I have the opportunity to actually hold them accountable for whatever they may or may not be doing to myself? So that begins with your definition of humility. What does humility mean to you? How can you translate humility into your life? What does it take to be a humble person? Why is it that I can't look at myself as a humble person? And for me, that starts with Philippians Chapter 2. And Philippians is something that Paul wrote. And really, it just talks about, if you have not read it, it talks about being a humble person. Humility is really, really identified in this verse, and it talks about putting the interests of others above your own. And God revealed something very interesting to me, because there is imitation humility in the world. A lot of people try to act like or put on a show that they are actually humble. And that was, to be honest, there was a time in my life where I had that same imitation, or that same false definition for humility. I would, like how Jesus talked about the lady with the two mites. And there's all these people around that are full of their own version of what tithing is or what giving is. And they have plenty, but they're only giving a certain amount. And this is all that she has, and she's giving all that she has. And he looked at her and said, look at that as an example of how you should give. That is the example of humility to me. When you put your interests on the back burner with things that you care about. See, to me, when somebody is giving or doing something, especially with my children, this is the one thing that I teach them consistently about being humble. If you, like my son loves video games. If you can play video games for an hour and you give your sister 10 minutes to play the video game and you take the other 50, that is not an example of being humble. Sharing with her when you have plenty of time to give and you only gave her 10 minutes isn't really being humble. When I know he loves video games, if you gave her 45 minutes and you only took 15 for yourself, that is an example of being humble, because you put her interest above your own in something that matters to you, that you care about. So for me, specifically, just to give you guys another example, we recently were up at my in-laws' cabin in Pine Top. And if anybody knows anything about me, is I consistently, if not always, I have one eye on the market. I'm always looking at the market. I'm always involved in what's going on in the investment world and the economy and things of that nature. It's just something that I've always grown up with. My wife, however, she needs my attention and is a major priority. She asked me not to bring my laptop up to the cabin with us. And I can even hardly barely say this, because I know how important to me my laptop is. That's where I do all my analysis. That's where all of my accounts are. That's where with something that matters to me, it's not the same thing as just doing it on your phone. It's not the same thing. It's something that really, truly matters to me. However, God quickly reminded me, though, as the leader, I am required to be humble at all times. Okay, I cannot be first unless I put myself last. So what did I do? Left my laptop at home, because my wife asked me to, and I was humble with something that mattered to me, not just something that is not really on my priority list or anything that I really like. Now, so how is humility versus accountability? How is it versus accountability? How do these things even correlate? Well, back to the beginning of the video, this is when you can hold somebody accountable. When they consistently, and this is something God really used it to me as revelation knowledge. When somebody is consistently putting their own interests above yours, consistently, I'm not talking about once in a while they put their own interest above yours, but they are consistently, everything is about them and what they think and what they feel and how things should go according to their mindset. That's when you get to say, hey, wait a minute, I matter too. This is a boundary that you get to set with them where you have biblical right to hold them accountable. And you can see this throughout the Bible where holding somebody accountable for their behavior is allowed by God. God actually encourages that a healthy person to have boundaries where they're holding people accountable when those boundaries are violated. Now, he didn't say take vengeance because that's not your authority. So don't do something wrong to somebody because they did something wrong to you. But that just means that in a healthy way, you can simply say to them, you know what? You continuously are putting your interest above my own. You continuously say one thing and do something else. The only thing that really matters is how you feel about something or what you think should happen. We're not even considering or valuing my opinion whatsoever. I really talk about this when I'm mentoring to certain people, men or women. When it's just people, an exercise that I do with people frequently is I say, okay, do you have access to outside? And they say, well, yes. And so I say, okay, I want you to stand up and I want you to walk outside and I want you to look up. And I want you to look up at the sky. So tell me when you're outside. They walk outside and they look up at the sky. And then I say, okay, now I want you to go back inside, close the door, and sit down and tell me when you're sitting down. And they say, okay. So they walk inside and they sit down. And they're like, okay, well, I'm sitting down. And I say, okay, while you're going through that process, was there any time that you asked the doormat what to do? Because you've just made several decisions. Did you ask the doormat what you were going to do? Well, no, I didn't ask the doormat anything. You made your decisions without asking something that you were going to walk over anyway. That's what people are doing when they're not holding others accountable. They are allowing them to just basically walk over them, make decisions without considering them. So I want people really I say, okay, well, if this is a consistent thing, let's not be the doormat anymore. Especially if you're a male. You know, males and females, as the male, you're the head, not the tail. If you allow yourself to be the doormat, then when that person, you're really doing them a disservice and you're doing yourself a disservice because you are the leader. You know, as a female, you're the support base. You are the thing that holds the family together. So if you're allowed to be the doormat, then everybody else ends up being the doormat too. So it's very important that as the leader, you show a sense of humility, but then you also hold people accountable for the decisions that they make and the way that they act, including making sure that your opinion is valued as well. So this video is titled Humility versus Accountability because they are very, very much so correlated and sometimes battle each other. That's why it's versus. They battle each other frequently. So I want you to make sure that you hit that like and subscribe. And this is Aaron Dave with Kingdom Blueprint. I will speak with you guys again soon. God bless.